Here's the thing that I got wrong is I didn't know. This was all press I was doing for Unfrosted. I did a bunch of it, and I enjoyed all of it. I did not know that people care what comedians say. That literally came as news to me. I don't think as I said, the extreme left has done anything to inhibit the art of comedy.
Right.
I'm taking that back now officially. They have not.
But they have. Wait, what? Okay, so he is all of a sudden backtracking on a statement he made back in April where he said that the left ruined comedy. Now look, the left ruining comedy, hyperbolic. That is a little bit ridiculous. But do some factions of the left try to police comedy because they take great offense to funny comedy? Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do, but I agree with Jerry. Like, I get his frustration. So, like, whenever they're busting Kamala Harris or some corporate Democrat on some extreme left thing that they did, and we're supposed to be to the left of them, and we are, but on economic issues, on things that make sense, they're like, aha, and you said this. I never agreed to any of that. I'm on the record. Whenever the Democrats go too far, I go, no, not buying it. I'm not in favor of that. I don't think we should pay for undocumented trans surgeries while they're in custody. I don't know why we're doing that. They're not American citizens, etc. And watch, like leftists will get super mad about me saying that.
No,
right?
They're melting down right now.
Right, and so I never agreed to any of the extreme stuff, but there was a moment where I got so frustrated with the police abuse. I originally was against defund the police very strongly, and they got tons of pushback on that.
I remember, yep.
And for like a minute, I was like, God damn it, maybe we should defund the police. And then I regained my senses and went back to my original position. So I understand where Jerry's coming from. He got frustrated by the leftists, who you're right, do exist, who are like, you can't joke about that, and you can't joke about this, and do you know how insensitive it is to joke about that?
Yeah,
right?
The killjoys who could very easily just not go to a comedy show that they find offensive.
Yeah.
You know, it's called making decisions for yourself. And if you don't like the comedy, don't consume the comedy and move on with your life.
Yeah, and so, but
you don't get to be the arbiter of like what kind of comedy everyone else gets to hear.
Yes and no. So now, but I agree with Jerry that he did go too far, and I like that he's bringing it back, okay?
All right.
So, because what he's saying is, look guys, we gotta read the room. That's our job as comics. And Bill Burr's been saying that, a lot of top comics are saying that now. So the momentum has swung from stop crying about people's complaints and do goddamn comedy, okay?
Well, that I agree with. Like, I also can't stand comedians incessantly whining about people being offended by their jokes. I get that it's annoying. I get that it's frustrating when people are trying to police your comedy, but also let's not forget who has the power here.
Yeah, so let me give you an example of, in my opinion, where we went too far, where the comics went too far, right? But to distinguish between who's right and wrong. Anyway, so for a while, every comedy set was about, oh, they don't let me make this joke, but watch this, trans people, you suck, I'm like, that's not a joke.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I'd watch there for half an hour, and guys who were enormously funny before, like Dave Chappelle, all of a sudden like doing nothing but like, I'm so bold because I say things that people hate. No, you have to actually include a joke, right? But I then saw the Ricky Gervais special, and I was like, look, I don't want him beating up on trans people again, like every other comic, and I heard that he did in his set, and I was super frustrated. Then I watched it, and I was like, no, that was funny. And he wasn't beating up on them. He was making a joke and then saying, but guys, of course we don't believe that. It's called comedy, right? And he shouldn't have to explain that. You should be able to get it from the way that he makes the joke, and I did. But the times being what they were, I appreciate that he even clarified, right? Mm-hmm. So I thought Gervais did it exactly right. Chappelle, as much as I respected him in the past, I thought was so unfunny for so many specials.
They turned into lectures. Like, some of those specials did turn into lectures, and it's like, I get that you are frustrated at the backlash you're getting, but it's getting to your head too much and it's hurting your comedy. Like, move on.
100%.
Move on.
So it then became like some sort of like debate between leftists and comics, and nobody was having fun.
100%.
So when Burr and the others and now Jerry are saying, no, let's get back to comedy and not worry about what the critics are saying. We're comics. So just do your comedy, and if it's funny, people will love it. And do you have to change with the times sometimes? Of course. People used to use the N-word in comedy all the time. They don't use it anymore because people are like, whoa, that's weird. Why are you hateful, right? Because our culture changed, and you got to change with that. You can't be like a cranky old 98-year-old comic going, I remember when we used to be able to say hateful things and people laughed. Now they're not even laughing at it anymore. Yeah, they're not. So move, find something funny.
Okay, I remember, there's that NFL guy who's kind of cute and was married to Gisele Bündchen. What was his name?
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady, okay.
There's that NFL guy.
So they did a roast of him.
They did.
And it was great. Like there were a lot of offensive jokes and it was great. Sometimes you just want to laugh. You want to be able to laugh at yourself. You want to be able to just like take some of these issues that are heavy, serious issues and make light of them. Honestly, for a lot of people, the way that they cope with these heavy, difficult, terrible issues in the world is finding the humor in it or resorting to humor in order to cope with it. Like there is an incredibly important role for comedy in today's society. And I just take issue with any group, whether it's leftists, people on the right, I don't care, trying to be the arbiters of what is and is not acceptable comedy.
Yeah, but both sides have to adjust, right?
I agree, yes, I do. I agree with that. So if audiences aren't liking your comedy because you're going too far and you're not selling tickets to your shows, don't cry about it. That's when you have to adjust.
Yep.
But also, let's give comedians the space and the room to fail, okay? And let the market decide.
And by the way, and if you don't, that's okay too. Who cares? So like, if Dave Chappelle thinks, oh, I was funny, and Cenk thinks I wasn't, I hate him. Okay, that's fine, no problem. You'll find other people that find you funny. And am I going to ban him? No, I'm not going to ban him. It's a free country. He can say whatever the hell he wants. And if you say on the left, well, he shouldn't be able to make jokes that I don't like, that's not really how it works, right? And you make the best jokes you got, and then see if people like them. It's not that complicated.
So Cenk had put in a request for Bill Burr. You want to go to that?
Yeah, let's have fun.
Let's go to Bill Burr.
That's my favorite quote from Tarantino.
What?
I saw an interview one time and they were saying like, yeah, I was trying to write movies and stuff, and they were going like, you can't do this, you can't do that. He's like, wait a minute, he goes, I can do whatever the I want. It's like that. Well, that's why your movies are great.
Yeah.
Whether you like them or not, you're just like, that's the comic I want to watch. I can say whatever the I want.
Yeah.
Good. I want to see you totally unfiltered.
Yeah.
That's good. I mean, there's a time and a place, I think, to be filtered.
Sure.
You know what I mean? There's no sense just going in and showing your ass and being if somebody hires you for a private gig and they go, okay, perform between these two lines. You're not Lenny Bruce if you go in there and you go outside and you're
right.
Because you agreed to do that.
Right, you do a corporate gig for a Christian church.
Right, but if you're at like a comedy club, it's like, no, you're a guest. Not everybody's gonna like me.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. I don't need everybody. I just need enough people to fill up enough of wherever I'm playing so I can continue doing this.
I'm guessing you think that's the right take.
Of course.
Yeah, that's the right take. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah. Last thing on that is, you remember that they canceled me for jokes, right? So at first it was the right wing, the alt-right back in the day that attacked, that nobody uses that word anymore. Back then they were, right? Now a lot of the right is alt-right from the past. But anyways, so they attacked and they said, oh, look at these jokes that Cenk made back in the 1990s.
You naughty boy.
Okay, and they pretended that it was real. And then mainstream media picked it up when I was running for office. Yep. And they're like, oh yeah, Cenk meant it and stuff. And the one that I had to apologize for the most, and it was like, that was the culture back then. Yep. It was like everyone had to do the Maoist apologies and stuff.
Yep.
And I barely did it, and then people got super mad at me and even more furious. So the one that they focused on the most was, I wrote this blog post in late 1990s when I was in Miami. about how I couldn't get laid in South Beach and how pathetic that was, okay? Because I'm like, look at all these models and it's amazing, but I can't. And then I said at the end, well, obviously the problem is the genes of women where they don't want to sleep with me enough, right? It's an obviously self-effacing joke about me, right?
Yeah.
And everyone, literally everyone, from the right wing that hatched it to the left wing who believed it to the mainstream media who propelled it, all pretended it wasn't a joke. And I was saying that there's something wrong with the genes of women.
I'm so sick of the hall monitor.
Yeah.
I'm so sick of it. I just am. Sorry. You can get offended by that if you want. I am so sick of the scolding. I'm sick of the bad faith attacks. It was abundantly clear that you were being self-deprecating in that blog post from the 1990s. Besides which, who gives a f?
So all of that is true, but you know what I did? I just adjusted. Okay, so mainstream media is going to be unfair. Oh, good news. I've got a media company, and why don't we beat them? And then we'll take their jokes and pretend they were serious, and we'll humiliate them and scold them, and then they'll go, no, it's not fair. Of course, we won't do that because we're fair. But that's okay. Look, guys, you're in the battlefield of life in a sense. Whatever your profession is, whether it's talk show host or you're just an engineer and you want to excel at your job, or if you're a comic, and you've got to figure out the puzzle of life. So when you get challenges, even if they're unfair ones, that's called life. So you got to figure out a way to get around it.
Put those pieces together.
Yeah. So, F mainstream media who lied about me, F everyone who lied about me, but that's okay. My idea isn't I should cancel them or I should cry about it for the rest of my life. My idea is, why don't I beat them and see how they like it?
Yep. All right, I'll take it. I like that. I like that attitude.
Indeed. So, all right, we got a little bit of time, and you don't have to go to salsa.
I know.
Okay.
I'm sad about it.
Okay, let me. This is such a me thing. So here's, we'll go off the cuff here. So we're gonna shoot some ads here tonight for like fun little promos for TYT.
Oh no, you're gonna be here too?
Oh, you're shooting something too?
Yeah.
Why? Oh no, that I'm here.
Because it's gonna take forever. I wanna be in and out. I don't wanna be here past 5:45.
No, everyone is very aware of that. Okay, and the schedules have been moved. They're
I
like,
back up in my parking spot because I want to get the fuck out of here as soon as possible.
Okay. They're like, Cenk, we can abuse. We can keep him as long as we like. But Anna.
You like the abuse, Cenk.
No,
he loves the abuse. No. He says yes to everything. You say yes to things that you should not say yes to, Cenk. Yeah. You're crazy. You're crazy.
Yeah, I agree that I'm crazy, and that's what this story's about, actually. So.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, and so, but there's a reason why I do it. Why? Because I want to win so bad. That's point one, and you could say, hey, that's good, that's bad, but it is who I am, and I know it, and I'm honest with myself. But number two, I have the responsibility of everyone here, right? So
that's true.
I don't get to say, hey, I'll take the day off, or hey, I won't do this, because I got to make sure that I provide for everyone here, right? So it's a different thing, okay?
God damn it, you're a good boss.
Okay, anyways. Okay, so but today, they already have a bunch of ads that they want to shoot. So I wrote 2 more last night. Okay, and so
this guy. Okay, continue.
Okay, so there's a lot of things that we're doing here. Like, so you guys see Young Turks, you might see a bunch of the other shows like Damage Report, Indisputable, etc. You might watch List with JR and stuff. But we do so many things, and we have so many channels that nobody even knows about, right? There's like a channel called TYT Investigates that people watch a lot, right? But a lot of you guys probably have never even heard of TYT Investigates as a channel on YouTube and Facebook, etc. But one of the things we recently came up with is called Rad Ads, okay? So I don't know that anyway, so there it is.
Okay.
And we did a couple of ads, and the reason I'm telling you now is because even though I shouldn't be, I should wait for it to go through the process and then we tell you. Anyways, is that we just did an ad about abortion for a candidate in Nebraska, and it's so good. And then we did a couple of ads that are so good. They're very different. They're rad ads. But of course, me being the mental guy that I am, the reason I wrote those 2 ads is because there's like 18 days left, and I want to leave everything on the field. I want to do everything I possibly can to defeat Trump. And so the ads I wrote are not for us. They're for ads that Democrats can use in this race, even though there's almost no hope that those can get done, used, and be effective by the end of the race. But just in case.
Cenk is, I can't even put into words how good of a person you are, because you are killing yourself to ensure a party that fucking despises you gets elected into office. You're a better person than me. I'm not as motivated as you when it comes to that. I don't think they deserve it. I think that they have failed their voters. I think that they plan to continue failing their voters. And the only saving grace they have is Trump bad. And that's it. That's it. But you're a good person. So.
Well, thank you for saying that, and I appreciate it. But really, so why am I doing it? Is it because, oh my God, I love the Democrats so much, and I believe that they'll deliver, and I believe that they will accept me, and we will be great friends? No, none of that, right? Because you have to work, in my opinion, for me, okay, you have to work as hard as you possibly can to get to the right answer. Because the right answer is what's going to help the most amount of people. And what's going to help the most amount of people is to make sure that a mentally unstable fascist doesn't get into office. So it does, like, I refuse to live in this binary world. I don't. I do nuance, okay? So if, there's so many people who never look at the other side of the equation, and we're all living with them now. Look, that's why I love the Young Turks audience, because we built a community here where you guys say it's okay. The people who thought it's not okay have already left, okay? To have these conversations and to do nuance and to understand that we disagree sometimes and to look at both sides. So a lot of people will say, Cenk, look, you hate the establishment, you hate mainstream media, the Democrats have screwed you over. What are you, a sucker, supporting them? Yeah, but you're only talking about, yes, all that is true, but you're only talking about half the equation. What's on the other side of the equation? Well, the other side of the equation is a guy who is deranged. And look, well, we've talked about it a billion times, but I'm gonna say it one more time in this context. I don't know why people are not having the same reaction I'm having. And not just Republicans, not just independents, but the media and people on the left and Democrats. This is the one I am most perplexed by. His chief of staff told him they're going to murder your vice president. And he said he deserves it. That's a deranged guy. That is a deeply, deeply deranged guy. There's like, fill in the blank on, they're going to kill this person. It doesn't even have to be the president. It could be a guy who runs a company. It could be a guy who's in the military. It could be a guy who's a plumber. It doesn't matter. They're going to kill this person who works with you, your right-hand man. There is not a person who goes, yeah, he deserves it. My supporters should kill him, should murder him. That isn't deranged. That's a psychopath.
I can't speak for anyone else. I'm speaking for myself, but I agree with you about Trump being deranged, right? Like, I mean, there's other examples that we could provide for that. But I think what has happened for me personally is watching the Democratic Party be as deranged as they have been during this war in Gaza and this now broadening war in the Middle East. And I just can't accept the notion that these wonderful Democrats are less deranged than Trump as literal kids are getting shot in the head by the IDF, as young as 5. I just can't, I'm sorry. They've lost the moral high ground for me, Cenk.
No, I don't, look, it's not about their moral high ground. It's not about any of that. I reverse engineer, okay, a problem. So the problem is we live under corporate rule, we've lost democracy, the donors control everything, right? So in order to defeat that, you have to have what? The Democrats are magically gonna do the right thing, the Republicans are gonna magically do the right thing? No, there's a 0% chance of either one of those things happening. Anyone who thinks, no, my side are the good guys and they're going to do it, oh my God, please disabuse yourself of that notion.
Okay, then what's the plan? Explain it to me.
Yeah, so in order to do that, you have to start basically what is a political populist revolt. And so the way that you do that is you bring the populace from both sides in. Now that is a super hard thing to do. And you have to do it the right way, because you can't go to the right wing as some people did and go, oh, I co-sign on everything. Oh, you hate these people? I co-sign on it, right? Oh, you want to start a war, you want to imprison people for no reason, whatever it is, I co-sign on it. No, you can't do that. You have to find the common ground on the things that you agree on and build a coalition. It is incredibly difficult.
It's like the hardest thing on the planet.
It's the hardest thing on the planet. But we don't have a choice, because there is no other path. That's what I'm trying to explain to people. That's why I get so frustrated with the Justice Democrats. It's because they think, well, that's so hard and that's gonna make me really uncomfortable and that's gonna make me hated. So I'll pretend that these Democratic colleagues of mine, who I know for a fact are corrupt and who I know for a fact aren't ever going to change anything, I'll pretend they'll eventually get there through gradualism. No, they're never going to. The whole point of gradualism isn't to eventually get there, it's to make sure you don't get there, okay? And that's why Martin Luther King warned against it. So, but I can fight a machine. As hard as that machine is, establishing Democrats and Republicans, any machine can be broken down. It always has an Achilles heel and et cetera, right? I can get into the details of that another time, okay? But if Trump wins, it's not a machine. We're back to the J. Edgar Hoover days, where there's a lot of people in the 1960s and 70s that wanted to bring people together and do like a populist revolt, like Fred Hampton, right? And he brought in poor blacks and whites and Latinos and he united them. And back then you couldn't win because a certain number of families that went to Yale and the whole skull and bone stuff was real back then, right? And the deep state was real back then,
yes,
right?
Definitely, yep.
And so back then, if those families or a powerful person like J. Edgar Hoover decided you're done, they wouldn't try to smear you in the press. They wouldn't do character assassinations. They put a bullet in your head and you're done. Fred Hampton, dead.
Yep.
Okay, you want to bring poor people together, middle class people together, and rise up against the powerful families? We put a bullet in your head. So I don't want to go back to those days. You go back to those days, then there's no hope. All hope is extinguished, okay? And so that's another reason why I think the Israelis being out of control worries me, because they're now saying, if you do journalism we don't like, we're gonna put a bullet in your head. And they did to Abu Shireen Akleh, and they've now done it. They've killed more journalists than all other conflicts combined. So and that government, let's be honest, basically controls our government. So that's a scary time. And they have, Miriam Edelson has given more money to Trump than anyone else. And whatever she says, Trump will do like a dog, because we already saw it. Back in the first term, Sheldon Adelson gave him $100 million and he did every single thing that Sheldon ordered him to do, right? So you go back to the despots and the totalitarian guys and the guys who don't believe in democracy and the guys who want to terminate the Constitution and don't mind murdering their vice president, you can't recover from that. We have to go back to the machine we know and hate and defeat it like we were planning to defeat it, and not go backwards and go to a dark, hopeless place. That's why I'm against Trump, and that's why I'm writing ads with 19 days left and trying desperately to help a party that despises me.